I'm just waiting for my Facebook viewers.
What I can do, select all. I'll just start it again. Copy that. Go live. I think it will just go live anyway.
Okay.
Right. Mine is not yet populated, so I think I'll talk to people once. Good evening. We're live again on Facebook and we're recording on Skype. I've got Elliot Feve in the studio and it's me, Derek Tafuma. We're going to talk about, as usual, actually this is the last chapter that we're looking at today. Zimbabwe, My Home, My Frustration, Articles of Defiance. This is the chapter that Elliot Feve goes back home after 9 years in exile. So, I don't know whether you want to do another quick recap of the other 9 chapters. Maybe in a minute or two.
Yes, I'll just do a summary review of what we covered previously. But firstly, I would like to welcome our viewers. I can see there are already a lot of people watching and viewing this program. It's proving to be very popular. And please continue supporting this channel as we discuss issues about the socio-economic situation in our country, beloved Zimbabwe. Let me just give you a summary of the other chapters so far that we've covered in short. The first chapter looked at the geographical position of Zimbabwe, its people, its culture from 1890 up to the present day. We also looked at the formation of MDC from its humble beginnings in 1999 and also the turbulence that it went through up to subsequent elections and up to current present situation. Within also the book, there's also a helicopter view of my upbringing from a rural area in Mount Darwin, the schools that I went to, primary, secondary schools, colleges, and also my connection, linking that to the formation of MDC and how I joined politics. Also, we covered what we call the pictures of defiance, various pictures that I captured through the struggle. They are also within this book. We also looked at various articles. We looked at the list of targeted sanctions, people targeted by EU and US. We also looked at the US court case, also is in this book. Yes, so here we are now. So it is loaded with both the historical perspective of Zimbabwe, the politics, the economic meltdown, the violence nature of ZANU-PF and Robert Mugabe, including some sections about evidence of the Gukurahundi tortures and murders. So yes, this is the book, and we are now on chapter 10. So yes, go ahead, Tafuma.
Thank you. I just want to acknowledge Worship is watching now. They join me. I'm sure more people will be joining us very soon. So in chapter 10 is the last stand of defiance in the book. And this is the time when you return home after 9 years in exile.
Indeed.
Where were you for 9 years?
9 years I was in UK. 2011, after 9 years, I decided to go back to Zimbabwe.
And why did you decide to go back?
I would say it was a calling for duty, calling by my own people. So eventually, after 9 years, yes, I was going through various programs in education, and I decided that this was the time to go back to Zimbabwe, reconnect with the roots, reconnect with the people of Zimbabwe and those of my support base. Yes, I was very aware of the pending dangers, especially given that Zimbabwe politics is a jungle. But, as a politician, you have to take sometimes risks. You're just like a businessman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was it like when you got to Harare?
It was a roller coaster of shock, shock, I would say. I didn't. You can imagine after 9 years, you are sort of you feel disconnected,
out of touch.
Yes, but I was not very much sure of what awaited me in Zimbabwe. But when I arrived, everything has changed. I mean, if you look at it, this was after the economic meltdown of 2008, 2009, where the inflation reached 500 billion%.
So this was during the GNU?
Yes, so this was during the government of national unity. Things have sort of stabilized a bit, but by no means normal. Of course, I was also surprised that people have normalized the abnormal. And I think this is the current situation in Zimbabwe, which is still worrying. Because those people who survived the turbulence of the 2008-2009, they do a compare and comparison with the current situation, and some people think this is actually an unacceptable norm, whereas it's not. I mean, Zimbabweans deserve a better life, they deserve a better government, and they deserve better prosperity. So when I arrived in Zimbabwe, right from the airport, I noticed a vast difference. Things have changed. You would expect that after 9 years, humanity has evolved, the economy has evolved positively, and the government has actually embraced globalization, and people have acquired prosperity. It was far away from that. The poverty was entrenched. Wherever I looked, there were signs of, Zimbabwe resembled a country emerging from a devastating war. The roads were in state of disrepair. You look at the buildings, everything.
Talking about the buildings, did you see pictures of the Nando's building which collapsed in Bulawayo, I think yesterday?
No, I didn't see it. I missed that one.
I don't know whether it was the cyclone. What's the name of that cyclone which is sweeping across from Mozambique?
Which is bringing torrential rain.
Yeah. It could have been that, but at the same time, it could be. Those buildings have been standing for a long time, and if the roads have not been repaired, I don't expect even the buildings are being maintained to the right standards. So it could be a case that the building is now beginning to succumb.
Indeed, yeah.
To old age.
So yes, when I arrived in Zimbabwe, my first port of call was to the Harvest House at the MDC headquarters. I needed to catch up with both politics and also to see fellow members of the party. had a tour of various offices of the party. And I think you might have also noticed that in chapter 10, I also alluded to the fact that I was given a surprise certificate of achievement.
Yes, it's, there's a picture of it in the book.
Indeed, yeah. So actually, they kept it secret. Little did I know that I was awarded a certificate of founding and pioneering leadership within an MDC.
Okay.
So it came as a surprise. Actually, I was not even given the same day. The next day, that's when the organizing department approached me to say,
"There is the award."
Yeah, and they said, "Are you aware that you were awarded a certificate whilst you were out of the country?" And I said, "What certificate is that?" I said, "I'll come to the office and then, we can talk." And then when I arrived at the offices, they presented me with an already signed certificate of achievement, signed by the President Morgan Tsvangirai.
Yeah.
Again, I was not the only person who was given the certificate of funding of MDC. There were there were a few people who were given, and that was during the celebration MDC anniversary.
Okay.
Yes, I feel very humbled that I was given an award by my party that I cherish dearly. But it shows also that MDC, as a part of excellence, recognizes the contributions of its members.
Okay. You've also got a picture of a 20 billion Zimbabwe note. It's on the same page with the award. Was this your first time to see this currency?
Indeed. I've seen it, on newspapers, but this was my first time to lay hands on a 20 billion note. Actually, later on, I laid hands on a 1 trillion note. and then a bearer note printed one side because we ran out of ink to print the other side.
Okay.
So yes, it was, that was actually, was shocking. What shocked me most was that after such a decapitating economic meltdown, after such a failure by ZANU-PF and Robert Mugabe, still Mugabe wanted to be the president of the country. To do what? I mean, he has been in power today for the past 37 years. And if he is to start campaigning as a candidate for 2018, what is he trying to? What is he going to promise the people of Zimbabwe?
I think I'm going to ask you that question. Let's wrap this up now.
Okay.
So, I mean, we've come to the end. This is chapter 10, the end of this book. It's available on Amazon. It's got the ISB number there. If you check on Elliot Favre's, if you just search for Elliot Favre on Amazon, it should be able to come up, and you can buy a copy. Some people have already bought copies. I mean, based on these videos, we've already sent some books for people to read.
Sure.
So you can also get hold of the book and have a read and maybe comment. I know Mr. Favre is going to try and write more books. In fact, from next Sunday, we'll be looking at another of his books on sustainable development, which I think maybe will tie in with the Millennium Development Goals. Maybe, we'll see. So I think we can move on now to, there is something that's been going on in the media. We've we've seen videos. We've all heard of the queen bees and all that. You know, there have been many jokes on social media, but I think the one that shocked a lot of people was the fact that the First Lady intimated to the fact that the president might even run for office. Even if he died tomorrow, he would still run for presidency from the grave. Now, obviously, it's not going to happen, but I think it just shocked people as to how somebody can actually say that. What is your take on that comment?
I know many people have been surprised, but I was not surprised at all. I mean, this is the level of Grace Mugabe's understanding, and this is the level of sophistication of MDs of ZANU-PF and also Robert Mugabe. And I don't. A lot of people are just being dismissive. We have to take very seriously. The reason why I say so is that it actually underpins a serious power jockeying behind the scenes. She probably was trying to preempt something that we are not aware of.
Yeah.
And I think from what he was saying, I would sense that we are in for a very, very, very surprise, in the sense that there's rigging, entrenched rigging behind the scenes, and I will not be surprised that come 2018, Mugabe might decide to do it as the former Gambian president, whereby even after losing, he will use the army to refuse to go. And I can see that by the 2018, I don't see Mugabe will be in his state of mind, both physically and emotionally. He is likely to be either bedridden or to be behind the scenes, to withdraw totally from the public. And I see Grace trying to sort of strategizing herself, abusing the old man for her own selfish end, and trying to take advantage of the jockeying of power and the implosion within ZANU-PF between Mnangagwa and the G40. And I think quite a lot will happen between now and 2018, which is going to shock Zimbabweans. And we seem to, ZANU-PF has been, taking us for granted for a very long time. And I think we Zimbabweans are also our worst enemies. We have, to some extent, accepted the abnormal, and we shouldn't do that. We should actually fight this regime at all costs.
I think one of the things that people talk about a lot, especially after the election has been done and the winners declared, people talk about rigging of the election or on election day, the counting and all that. But obviously there is rigging, and I want you to explain this. There is rigging even now as we speak. We suspect that rigging might already be taking place, and that's almost more than a year away from the actual election. What sort of things have you noticed that would, and I'm thinking now of the First Lady giving computers at a school. We don't know where those computers came from. Yeah. We also saw another MP promising people rice and giving them at a rally. Yes. Rice. It was even on the poster. So what sort of things should people be looking at when they are trying to see how this rigging is taking place?
I think there are two issues there. The first issue, maybe let us analyze the ZEC at the moment.
Yeah.
It has been publicized all over that Zimbabwe is going the biometric way of voter registration. And I think a lot of Zimbabweans embrace that as being a definitive.
Can you quickly explain what biometric means to those who are not aware?
Yes, biometric voter registration or voter process is an innovative, technologically advanced form of voter registration that uses biological features. Here, I mean, using the fingerprinting, or eye scanning, or it might be even voice recognition in terms of registration.
Or facial recognition.
Yeah, or facial recognition in terms of both registration and also the voting. Here, I mean, voting at the polling station on the day. But however, we know that from the Zimbabwean perspective, we were told that the biometric is going to be implemented only for voter registration to eliminate the dead bodies who have been on the register, some of them since 1980, and also sort of minimizing the duplication of names, which is something have been using.
Some people have been joking that the First Lady is today talking about a dead president participating in elections. But we know that dead people have been voting for a very long time.
Yes, we know that. And so this the new system is supposed to mitigate against those effects of voter rigging. By no means does it eliminate it. It just mitigates. In other words, it lessens the chances of rigging. Assuming that it is implemented in totality, from registration also to voting process, including to audit or to where we are tallying now the votes at the other end.
Yes.
There's no point in having a piecemeal implementation of biometric, whereby you say we are going to implement it only for the registration, but not for the voting process and not for the counting process. Okay,
so rigging can still take place with the other two.
Indeed. So currently at the present moment, I think we can see that I smell a red that ZEC has already started rigging on behalf of ZANU-PF. By the way, almost 85 or 90% of directors within ZEC are either war veterans or CIOs. And I've got evidence to that because I've been in the system 2013 during the elections, and we managed to actually prove that.
Yeah.
But then the worrying thing is that the funding was going to come from UNDP.
Yeah.
And so was the process of the tender process of selecting the final bidder, the winning bidder. And just this week, ZEC has pronounced that the government has taken that responsibility of managing the tender process UNDP. Not only that, but that the government is now funding the process.
Okay.
And the biggest question there is, at the moment, the government is unable to pay workers because it's broke. The country does not have money, and this is why the government approached the UNDP, the United Nations, for support, to support them financially for the 2018 elections. And all of a sudden, of course, we can see, I think there were some teething problems in the sense that UNDP wanted transparent process, which ZANU-PF government and Mugabe are not willing to engage. They are not willing to change any laws or any system that have been sustaining them illegally in power.
So you can say it's part of the rigging mechanism.
Already the rigging mechanism has started.
And I heard that also Nikov, which is not popular with a lot of Zimbabweans, is said to have been one of the bidders for the biometric.
Indeed, yes. Initially, there were 12 companies that bidded for that tender. Out of the 12, we understand there are now 5.
Do they include Nico?
However, the ZEC is not disclosing those 5 companies. I suspect that among the 5 companies will be the NICOV, which was very much involved in the rigging exercise of 2013.
And which is likely to win this bid anyway.
Yes. And if you look at it, the timing, because UNDP did the process for the 12, right? Until, there are now 5. And the government has seen it fit to exclude UNDP for the final selection now. And you can see that, there's a demonic approach, which is tactful.
Yeah.
Yes, by ZANU-PF.
So, besides ZEC and the registration and all that, what else is happening on the ground which might suggest that? I'm thinking in terms of television coverage, because when ZANU-PF is going on a rally, their rally is broadcast live on ZBC TV.
Yes.
So, what besides that, what else might people look out for, which might suggest that the process of rigging is already underway?
Yes, we knew very well that this vote buying through corruption, diverting state resources would still continue. So we've seen with the Grace, we've seen with also psychology visa in Highfields.
Some of the stuff which is being handed out to villagers is said to have been impounded at the border post.
Yes,
by traders who are trying to bring stuff in.
Indeed, they will always be aware in which they will loot the coffers of the state or dispossess the citizens and then divert those resources for rigging elections. So people must also take audit of all that as we go towards 2018. And it's going to escalate.
Yeah.
The problem that ZANU-PF has is it cannot go out there with a policy that they can sell to the people of Zimbabwe, right? Which they haven't implemented for the past 37 years.
Yeah.
They can't promise anything. They can promise land because they've taken the land, and that land is unproductive.
Yeah.
Promise, economic prosperity for the past 37 years. They've been on the controls. If they wanted to empower people, they would have done that.
Correct.
They can't. They can't promise infrastructure to say they will build roads. They will equip schools and hospitals. They've been in power for the 37 years. Mugabe, when he was 57 years, that was the prime time that he could have done that. Not at 94 years.
Okay.
So yes, they are totally, ideologically bankrupt to such an extent that the only way out is either to bribe, vote buying, and I can see violence coming in. Because this is why you find in 2006, they also decided, the Politburo decided to bring in the training of the militias. Yeah. And the timing is ripe to unleash violence to innocent civilians. Especially, I see the rural areas being a bloodbath by ZANU-PF.
Okay, how about the introduction of the board notes? Do you think some people suspect that it's a way to try and sweep the actual US dollar currency out of circulation and then use that in order to prepare for the rigging of elections in 2018? Do you think those are credible? That's a credible suspicion.
Very much so. But before I comment, are you able to add Sally?
Okay, is she available now?
Yeah, she has just text to say she's available.
Okay, I'm not sure if I've got her here. Let's see. And can she text you her Skype address?
That's Sally. If you just Sally Graka, is Graca.
Is there a full stop or anything?
Not that I know of. Okay, maybe she's listening. She would text it in a moment. Okay. Let me comment on the bond notes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we can link that. That the intention was, by printing the bond notes, they will be able now to exchange with the US dollars. So the government, ZANU-PF, would take the US dollars and then give the bond notes to unsuspecting citizens.
Yeah.
And then at the end, they will then use but of course, we know by 2018 there will be nowhere a bond note would be equivalent to $1 US. That will never happen.
Yeah.
You know, and even at the moment, it's actually by cohesion. It's a cohesion. It's not. It cannot be an economic parity whereby we say one bond note is going to be $1 US, and that is the case forever. No currency can be a sort of enforced by signature of a president.
Yeah.
You know, in a free economy, it depends on the market, and similarly, all currencies in the world, they experience fluctuations depending on the economy, and Zimbabwean bond notes is no exception at all. But what I see is going to happen is that I think initially I also alluded to the fact that all of a sudden the government is saying they found the money, so they will now fund the biometric registration process.
Uh-huh.
It is likely that it is the money that they are taking from from citizens in exchange of bond notes.
Yeah.
Because they want to continue to be in control of the system.
So in other words, I mean, some people have made comments that the introduction of bond notes is like trying to legislate or trying to carry out some kind of financial engineering to the economy.
I don't see that. I don't agree with that. I think that was a state of desperation by ZANU-PF government when they introduced the bond notes, and all they were trying to do is to introduce the Zimbabwean dollar by the back door. And what better way of doing it by using a presidential decree of fixing the exchange rate, which Mugabe did, which is unheard of in any free market. And we are where we are because Zimbabweans, yes, I know there was an uproar against the introduction of bond note, but we quickly accepted the status quo, and now people seems to be, business as usual. And it's only in Zimbabwe that bond note is 1:1 and US dollars.
Yeah.
And what the ZANU-PF government has just done is to say whoever is going to devalue the bond note will be arrested. I mean, how can you run an economy like that?
But there are already reports that it's trading at 30% or less in some places. That you can't. There's already a parallel market with the bond notes and the US dollars. It's
always the case because there is there's fiscal policy, and then there is monetary policy. The monetary policy is supposed to be the duty, the responsibility of the Reserve Bank. We know that's not the case in Zimbabwe. ZANU-PF, Robert Mugabe is both the captain of fiscal policy and monetary policy, which is a confusion, and which is not, as far as I can see, this is a bubble awaiting to burst. It's an economic bubble awaiting to burst, and the day that it will burst, that will be the end of a Zimbabwean economy by any measure. It has never happened in such, that the president can fix an exchange rate. It has never happened that a government, instead of printing a national currency, decided to print a bond note, an IOU note,
a financial instrument.
Yes, I mean there was no need to it. They would have brought in the Zimbabwean dollar if they wanted to, in a way. In a slow measure, they would have either introduced the $10 and $20, those early currencies of Zimbabwe.
Yeah. And
then gradually introduce more notes as we go along. But just a departure from the national currency totally and introducing, a temporal measure, because they said it's a temporal measure. How do you introduce a temporal currency and then gazette it to be a national currency? It doesn't work. And not only that, gazette it to fix that it is one. It shall be 1:1 with the US dollars. But here we are, and this is the current situation in Zimbabwe, and the Zimbabweans, we seem to have accepted it. It is a shame that we could go to such length to accept the abnormal.
Okay, I think we can end it here for now. And then next week, obviously, we're going to carry on with a different book. We've just finished talking about Zimbabwe, My Home, My Frustration. All the videos will be on YouTube, either on Elliot's channel or on my channel on YouTube. You just Google Derek Tafuma or Elliot Feve, you'll find all the videos will be there. Next week, we'll be looking at sustainable development and probably some of the current issues which are taking place. Because I think some of them really deserve comments and contribution from Elliot, an experienced politician. He's been in the trenches for a long time. And also, he's got a background in teaching economics. So I think it's someone we can rely on for commentary on that. So we'll come to the end. Facebookers, thank you for watching. Thank you, Worship. You've been there throughout. Remy, Shepherd, Cyprian just joined me. There was also Fungai, Tendai, Shepherd. Okay. Are there any questions that you might want to address and then we close? Which maybe if your viewers have asked any questions or comments?
Yeah, let me just have a look. Yes, I've got Farai. I think, it's not a question. I've got Michael. I've got Albi. I've got Brighton. Thank you all, guys. Those who have been viewing and keep supporting us. I think we can call it a day, and we meet again next Sunday, same time. We appreciate and God bless.
Thank you.